Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
We're kind of getting ready to finish up prime time, and November's championship time for us. So it's just all part of the journey that we're on, and that'll take care of itself. Our focus right now is just trying to have a great Halloween.
We're going to stick it out, and we're not going to go anywhere. People that want to leave, that's their choice, but we're going to stick it out, and we're going to do the best that we can here, and we're going to make this a great program again.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome into Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network on a football Thursday nights. We have got college football, big ACC game in the Coastal Division. Have you been paying attention to what's happening on the other side? Pittsburgh and North Carolina have emerged, along with Duke, as the top contenders over there. And Pittsburgh and North Carolina play tonight on ESPN in Pittsburgh. Should be a pretty good ball game, certainly an important ball game. And the winner likely, possibly, will be the representative in the ACC championship game from that side. Likely to play Clemson, should the Tigers, of course, do their thing this weekend and take care of Florida State next weekend. I think they're in as far as the ACC championship game is concerned in Charlotte. We've got that. There's other college football tonight and an NFL game. The suddenly resurgent Dolphins taking on the Patriots. So we'll see how good Dan Campbell is in game 3 as the interim coach with the Dolphins. He's off to a 2-0 start, but stepping up in quality tonight as they go up to New England. Phil Kornbluth here in Columbia at our beautiful Learfield Studios on Main Street, along with the professor, Tom Hayes. K-Mac is Kevin McCrary, not with us tonight. In fact, he won't be back with us until the Lakers actually win a regular season game after losing their opener last night. So,
take some time.
Yeah, he's going to take some time off until the Lakers get in the win column. So we might not see him for a little while. Happy to say, though, the Celtics won their opener last night over the 76ers handily as we begin quest for banner number 18 last night with a very strong win.
There's still some miles to go before you see
only 81 more regular season games or 6 months, whichever comes first. All right, 800-956-7266. Let's talk about the games coming up. South Carolina, Texas A&M. Can the Gamecocks pull off the surprise, you think? Double-digit underdogs. What do you think there? Clemson at NC State. Here we go again. You know what? I don't think there are any trap games for Clemson because I don't think this Clemson team gets caught up or down emotionally. I think they've proven to me that they take each game as it comes with an even keel. I don't see – we talk about trap games earlier in the year. Georgia Tech coming after Notre Dame, no problemo. I think NC State has got Clemson's full attention Saturday in Raleigh. The numbers look good for NC State, but are they a paper Wolfpacker? I wanted to say paper Tiger, but, Clemson's the Tigers. Are they a paper wolf? The wolf, huh? You like that, State Man? State Man loves that analogy.
Or sheep in wolf's clothing.
And there, it's even better, Pro. Very good. And their numbers look good, but they've played nobody. They're playing somebody Saturday. Back in a moment. Our phone number here on Sports Talk, 800-956-7266. Our email, talkback@sportstalksc.com, and on Twitter @SportsTalkSC. We welcome your phone calls and your comments tonight here on this Thursday edition of Sports Talk. Coming up, we'll have our coordinators with us, Chuck Reedy and Ellis Johnson. Coach Jamie Chadwell from Charleston Southern after the top of the hour, previewing the big game against Coastal Carolina. We had Joe Moglia last night. Mike Morgan, college football announcer for hire, will join us in the second hour as well. He's working the Arizona State game. Is that tonight? Or is that
I think so.
This weekend? Friday, Saturday?
This weekend.
He's working the Arizona State game, and he'll join us to talk some college football.
That's
We'll
Oregon.
also hear
Arizona State or Oregon.
we'll hear from the Gamecocks after practice today, and it is tonight. That's what I thought. Arizona State was playing tonight against Oregon. So we'll get a preview of that from Mike. And let's see, we'll hear from the Gamecocks after their practice, and also Clemson offensive guard Eric McClain. We'll hear from him. Keep in mind tonight, if you lose us over the airwaves, over your favorite radio station carrying us right now, should you lose us for some reason, you can always find us on our website, sportstalksc.com. We have the audio feed at the top of the page, the video feed at the bottom of the page. You can also get us over iHeartRadio, over a couple of our affiliates streaming there, our affiliate in Greenville, WGVL, our affiliate in Myrtle Beach, WSEA. And also, if you have the TuneIn app, our Columbia affiliate, the Point Radio, you can listen to them at the TuneIn app and stay with us through the entire program. We hope you do, should you lose us over the airwaves. 800-956-7266 is the phone number. Update a couple of things in a moment. I want to say, first of all, I feel great. I feel great. Why do I feel great, you ask? Did you ask, bro?
No, but I'm waiting with bated breath for you to tell us.
Went to a memorial service this morning at the Citadel for Ken Berger. And, you know, you feel really sad for the loss of a good friend and a great writer, but you feel good after sitting there for 90 minutes and listening to people talk about him, the professional, talk about him and his life, hear from his wife, and feel the love and the emotion that people had, the care and concern that they had for him, and just the admiration that they had for him. It says something about a person when people don't want to let you go after you're gone. And, you know, a couple hundred or so people gathered for this event at the Summerall Chapel on the Citadel campus. His best friend in the world, Andy Solomon, an administrator at the Citadel, put this all together. And, you know, it was quite moving and quite inspirational. I met a lot of folks, met a lot of his good friends from Allendale who grew up with him, great people. And it was just one final chance for folks to kind of say goodbye to Ken, who passed away from cancer last week, was it? First part of last week, I think it was, a couple of days short of his 66th birthday. So as sad as we are that he's gone, it was kind of a good feeling to hear what people had to say and just sort of close that chapter. And, you know, we wish Bonnie, his wife, and his family well as they deal with the, you know, the emotions and the healing after his passing. On to a few other things. Well, first of all, I can tell you without any question, without any doubt, you know, we told you last night it was foolish to think that Ray Tanner might be on the USC plane that went to Dallas and then to Houston. I can tell you with 100% certainty he was not on the plane. All right, so you can forget all of that. He's not going to be on a plane that can be tracked, especially one that's going to go to a couple of spots where the search could be focused and centered. But I will tell you this from people I've talked to today. I do feel, I think I can say this now with pretty solid opinionated certainty, because I don't have this on the record. I'm only going through secondhand sources, but I do believe that Tom Herman is right now the lead dog in this pack. You know, based on what I'm hearing regarding the information that Tanner has been seeking out about him, and just other stuff that I've been told, I think that Herman is the number one guy at this point. It's probably emerged as the number one guy. And And there's reason to believe that he would be interested in leaving Houston after 1 year. Number of reasons. I don't think he's all that happy there from what I'm told. It's not the greatest football situation in the world. The guy that hired him is not there any longer. They don't draw big crowds. Some of the things promised to him when he got there, those have not been followed through on at this point, et cetera, et cetera. So Urban Meyer, I'm told, is I think he's telling him, obviously he's close to Urban Meyer. I think Urban Meyer is telling him to look hard at the South Carolina job, and maybe others, but look hard at the South Carolina job. I'm not going to say it is going to be offered to him, but should it be offered to him, I think he is getting the word from Urban to take a good hard look at the South Carolina opportunity. So until we hear otherwise, I would think that is the direction it is heading right now.
Well, isn't it true that if you look at the coaches that we've heard about, and I'm talking about head coaches, he's the only one that actually has, and I may speaking out of school, that actually is recruited in South Carolina's footprint, because he does he did Atlanta was his territory or something?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. And he is highly regarded as a recruiter. He was the assistant coach of the year last year, receiving the Broyles Award as the assistant coach of the year, and very highly regarded as a recruiter. From what I'm being told, the guy is a recruiting fiend. Very organized, and demands that his staff participate in today's technology in dealing with recruiting through all the social media outlets, and all the ways that they can reach the kids, and this, that, and the other.
I read his statement. He said, look, kids we're recruiting keep their face in that phone for about 9 to 10 hours a day, so you might as well put your face or your logo in front of them. Absolutely.
All right, so that's what we've got on that now. Of course, things can change. I'm not saying that's an absolute at this particular time. Nothing is imminent. Sean Elliott could certainly change the scenario to some degree, I think, if he can direct the Gamecocks to a win or two here down the stretch. And like Corey Miller said last night, to stand up and be seen and be counted as somebody who should be considered. So we'll see. We'll see what happens from here. But from where I sit, from what I'm hearing, it certainly looks like Herman at Houston. And then the Gamecock fans, the student body, they can call themselves what? Herman's Hermits. Yeah.
You go to those kids, they don't even know who Hermit.
State Man, I always read by Steak Man because he's my gauge of millennial thinking. Herman's Hermits for the fans.
I am I guess I am the conduit between you being really old and me only so old, only about a decade older than the current kids.
You're right.
Tell me who they are, please, bro. Somebody.
You don't know who? All right.
Old British.
Do a Google search there.
Old British.
Hermits. They were probably
group
back in the 60s. If you were to rank them, the Beatles were number 1. The Rolling Stones were number 2. Herman's Hermits would probably be in the top 5.
No Monkeys, any of that kind of stuff?
Monkeys would be in there.
Just put it this way. They were part of what was called the mid to late 60s British invasion.
Yeah. The good one. The good invasion. The good British invasion. Back in 1776, I guess that was.
Well, they were already here.
The bad British invasion. Well, they came over with their guns and their cannons and all that kind of stuff.
Muskets.
All right, 800-956-7266, the phone number. So what do you think? Sean Elliott going to win a couple of games here down the stretch for the Gamecocks? Are they just going to wither away and die?
God,
what about Clemson and NC State? I'm not that concerned. I think NC State's a paper wolf. I like that statement. Who said? No, you said paper wolf.
Yeah, a sheep in wolf's clothing.
Okay, I don't think there's a lot of meat there. They got to show me something. We'll be right back. case you're wondering, the USC plane flew to Indianapolis today. To the NCAA, maybe. Maybe they're being in to visit with the NCAA today.
Maybe about hosting the regional.
I doubt it. It goes to Indianapolis quite a lot. For whatever. Well, because the Indianapolis, I don't know if that's related to the NCAA or something else. Who knows? That plane's used for a lot of different reasons, but it was not used for athletic purposes yesterday or the day before, I can tell you that. Quick note, came out last night, USC and North Carolina going to play baseball games in 2016 and 2017. The ballpark, B&T Ballpark in Charlotte. So that will be kind of neat. And let's see, USC's wrapped up practice today, and not a whole lot of news. The Gamecocks trying to figure out who's going to play quarterback for Texas A&M. Have to be aware of the freshman Christian Kirk, terrific receiver and punt returner too. Do not punt the ball to this guy. You're asking for trouble if you do. We'll hear from Gamecocks coming up in a little bit. Let's jump to the phones, 800-956-7266. Jim and Estill. Hello, sir, and welcome into Sports Talk tonight. How are you?
I'm doing fine, Phil. How about you?
Good, sir. Good.
I was just had a question. Mr. Herman from Houston, age of Herman, does anybody know?
40, I think. I think he's 40.
40, okay.
I'll double check that. He's not very old. He's relatively young.
40, 41.
40 on the dot. 40 on the dot.
Definitely favor a younger coach, but y'all were talking about one thing, and he said that Herman had and might be the only one being considered that recruited in our recruiting area, but I beg your pardon, but I'm thinking Chad Morris has recruited Florida, South Carolina, Georgia, North Carolina pretty hard the last 7-8 years, and he's had pretty good results if I'm watching that Clemson team.
I don't think he's on the radar. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with Pro. I don't think he's a major factor at this point.
Yeah, I don't understand why. Pro said something the other night, but Pro, the best defense is a great offense, my friend. Keep the ball.
Well, the reason I'm saying that is because here's a guy that was born, raised, cut his teeth on Texas high school football. He's back in his home state of Texas, and he's sitting for one of those. If he can turn SMU around, he's sitting there primed to grab one of those prime football jobs in the state of Texas, his home state.
Well, you can't worry about that type thing. I just think he ought to definitely be considered. But just because of his track record, I don't know how many 29,000 yards they passed following. I bet he's only had a few defeats in 7 years. I bet he's damn near won 70 games at Clemson. That's just a super track record. All right, fellas.
Thank you very much.
Well, the interesting is you talk about his track record. What was his record against South Carolina?
Yeah, Ellis Johnson had a defense dialed up. Hey, by the way, if it is Tom Herman, be careful if you engage him in conversation. He is a member of Mensa International, largest and oldest high IQ society in the world, open to people who score at the 98th percentile or higher on a standardized, supervised IQ or other approved intelligence test. Smart dude.
How dare
All right, back with you, Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. Good to have you with us, Phil Kornblut and the Professor, Tom Hayes. Get back to your phone calls in a little while. However, it's Thursday night here on Sports Talk. Time to bring you our coordinators, our in-depth look into the X's and O's and the emotions of what's happening out there in the football world, in particular related to Clemson and USC. We welcome in Chuck Reedy and Ellis Johnson. And I know, Coach Johnson, you with young children, and, nothing really to do this football season. You get to do the trick or treat thing this weekend. I know you're jacked about that.
Well, I'm usually not at home when that occurs, so they may send me off so much I don't mess it up.
I mean, do you actually know what to do to go trick or treating? Do you actually know how to do it?
I have never been with the children, but I have been home when kids have come by.
Okay. What are you dressing as this year?
A football coach.
A football coach.
I'm at the point in my life I don't need a mask or anything.
All right, Chuck, do you get the feeling that the man's getting a little antsy in the cage there? He's ready to bust loose?
I'm telling you. I hope he gets a job somewhere because I think he'll be ready to go next year now. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, what do you say, Eli?
Yeah, I'm ready. It's been a tough season. The chasing Dolphins and the Falcons that been lifting combined are 0-14 right now, and it's been a tough year.
Please tell me you're not the head coach. I don't want that added to your head coaching resume.
I'm not, but I must not be a very good cheerleader either.
All right, let's talk about the Gamecocks first of all, guys, because Sean Elliott said on Tuesday that in practice this week they were going to be more physical. They were going to and going back to their off week, tackling, taking guys to the ground, things of that nature. Ellis, from your standpoint, defensively, what does that mean this late in the season? You think it's a good thing for them to be doing that?
Well, doing open day, that's not terribly unusual. A little bit late in the year, but I think Sean's doing all the right things, punching all the right buttons, just to change the atmosphere. A little bit more physical at practice, a little more motion in the locker room, doing some things at pregame walk, putting some little music out on the field at times during practice. Anything you can do. These kids have been through a traumatic deal. I mean, a lot of them came there because of Coach Spurrier or because of what was going on under Coach Spurrier, and he's just trying to change the whole picture right now. And I think it's smart. These kids have got to get their mind off of that and move forward. And there were some good results last Saturday, so hopefully they can keep building on it.
Chuck, he talked about offensively putting in a few more wrinkles, some additional little packages that they've had, but maybe they haven't used. It sounds like it's still going to be Orth starting off at quarterback moving forward. I know you're not at practice and all that kind of stuff, but knowing the offense a little bit, what do you think they might do differently against Texas A&M?
Well, the one thing that, I've heard bits and pieces is, make more two-back sets, and I know that one problem they have had is in the red zone. And, I certainly would think that, with more of the two-back offense, I think would benefit them down there. I've even heard talk that they may use some three-back stuff, which, again, I think when you get down, inside the 20, I think, those things can be very beneficial to you. The one thing that I hope they've done, and, I hope they just don't start adding a bunch of stuff. I hope they've spent these 2 weeks, learning to execute what they've got better. Mm-hmm. And then, obviously, you add a wrinkle, but, you just got to get good at a few things. If you can do that, then you can move the football.
Okay. All right. We'll see how the Gamecocks do as they go to Texas A&M. Let's go to Clemson, guys. And I was in Miami, Chuck, 28-0 in the blink of an eye, as almost as perfect offensively as you want to play against not a great team, but a respectable team, and 58-0 for the game. Yeah, I'm about to say this might be the greatest Clemson team of all time.
Well, it was very, very impressive, and they're getting better and better. They're certainly playing with a lot of confidence. And, from an offensive perspective, the thing that I do see this year, no offense to Chad Morris, obviously a very good football coach. This is the most physical offensive football team that Clemson's had in a long, long time. And, in talking to Tony Elliott, I mean, they believe in running the football. And, they're becoming a physical offensive football team. And, they've got a chance. I mean, they're sitting in a great, great position right now. I don't know about we'll see about all that other stuff. I mean, time will tell.
Mm-hmm.
But they've certainly, they've earned, everything that they've got, and they deserve to be ranked, second or third, whatever in the country. They've earned it.
Mm-hmm.
So
Ellis shutting out Miami, taking out the quarterback in the second quarter on a clean, hard hit by the defensive end, Shaq Lawson, on a sack, taking him out. As a defensive coordinator, could you ask any more of what that defense is giving Clemson right now?
Not at all. I mean, I just think they played great. And the thing about it is, before this game, they've just been, a team that lost nine starters at graduation, or 8. And everybody thought they'd have to grow into their skill set, but they've been good from the first game. And I know they weren't playing great competition, but they've been good since the first game. And I know I keep repeating myself, but every game they start fast. And that means great preparation, and it means they got a lot of confidence. It doesn't always mean you're going to finish and win, but it means that they're having great preparation and they're confident. And they just continue to put up great performances, and that was dominant. One of the best things I think I heard going in that game, I don't know a lot about Miami, but their passing game was really being given a lot of hype, and they had 93 yards passing, and the quarterback hit obviously probably helped them, but it was a product of great pass rush. So I just think they played extremely well.
Mm-hmm. Ellis, you've been around the state a lot of years. You've been around Clemson football a lot of years, both inside and outside watching it. Where do you place this Clemson team at this point? I mean, I know there's still work to be done, but as of today, based on what you've seen offensively, defensively, special teams, coaching, the whole ball of wax, do you put – could it challenge the 81?
They got to be in the conversation, but their season's not over, so let's wait and see. I personally was up close and saw about 3 teams there that I don't believe they could beat, but the season's not over yet. And, I was looking at some the other day, guys. Clemson deserves everything they got, but they play 8 ACC – will play 8 ACC teams. And if you take Florida State out of it, the combined number of ACC wins on those other 7 opponents is 7 wins. Miami's won 1 ACC game. BC's won none. Georgia Tech finally won 1. Mm-hmm. NC State has won 1. I mean, these are not good football teams they're playing, but that's not their fault. They're destroying them. They're dominating them. So right now, I think you still got to say we don't know how good they are because the competition, I'm sorry, is just not as good as what some of the other teams have faced. Duke, Pitt, and North Carolina have the most wins in the conference other than Florida State, and they're not on their schedule. So Chuck said it earlier, they got the easiest road right now to the 4 playoff teams, and the only problem is if they do stub their toe, they're done because their schedule's so weak.
Mm-hmm. Chuck, do you see anything offensively Clemson can do better at this point?
Well, the only thing, I talked to one of their guys this week, and they're well aware of it. And I've said this, every week. They don't have the guy that can really stretch the field. They really miss Mike Williams. And we talked about Kane last week, and then he doesn't even dress out. So they're that's the one thing that they're lacking. But they obviously that hasn't kept them from scoring points and winning games. But going back to what you were, you're wanting to. To crown these guys the best. I mean, and like Ellis said, you look at the competition. 1981, now we beat 3 top 10 teams. So I don't think Clemson has played a top 10 team yet.
All right, hang on, Chuck. We'll come right back to Chuck and to Ellis. Continue with our coordinators here in just a moment. Back on Sports Talk, presented by South Carolina. Soybean farmers and their checkoff. Learn more at scsoybeans.org. Pork, powered by soy. Back to our coordinators in a moment. Some breaking news from USC in that just a few minutes ago, the Gamecocks released their 2016 football schedule. It'll open up on a Thursday night, September 1st at Vanderbilt. So the new head coach will get a chance to get an early win at Vanderbilt. But then he'll have to go to Mississippi State. Home opener, September 17th, East Carolina. Next week at Kentucky. So 3 of the first 4 will be on the road. Texas A&M at home October 1st. Georgia not until October 8th at home. UMass at home October 22nd. Tennessee at home October 29th. Missouri at home November 5th. So after spending most of September on the road, all of October and the first week in November will be at home. Week off after Missouri, then Florida on November 14th. That can't be right. That's the date. It can't be November 14th. They have November 14th on this release, but that can't be right. If they play Missouri on November the 5th, the next week would be the 12th. They wouldn't play Florida on a Monday night. That must be a mistake on their end. It does say November 14th, but that can't be right. Anyway, Western Carolina, November 19th. So it must be November 12th is what they mean for Florida, at Florida. Western Carolina, November 19th, and at Clemson, November 26th. That is the 2016 schedule for the Gamecocks. All right, back to Coach Reedy and Coach Johnson. Sorry about that, Chuck. We always have to interrupt you, but I'll let you finish up what you were saying about that 81 team and the number of wins over top 10 teams.
Yeah, I'm just saying, we won, beat 3 top 10 teams along the way. And, we'll find out how good Clemson is if they're able to navigate the rest of the regular season and win the championship game, and get in the playoffs. When they start playing top 10 caliber football teams, we'll find out exactly how good they are.
Mm-hmm. Guys, there are 8 Division I FBS job openings, and we're not even into November yet. We've got interim head coaches all over the place. Ellis, what do you think of that particular trend? Yes, if indeed it is a trend.
I think that what has happened is the recruiting calendar has sped up over the years. And I'm not talking about why they're getting fired. I'm talking about the time of the year. It's becoming a little more, I guess everybody thinks it's a better time to go ahead and make that move because it puts you in a better chance to save your recruiting cycle. That's my take on it. The reason they're getting so short of an opportunity to try to prove themselves is the money in college football today.
Mm-hmm. And does it also give the hiring school, their AD, their search people, a chance to kind of get out in front of it and get a leg up on people and trying to find a new coach?
I think what they're trying to get out in front of the recruiting cycle because you can't hire them until the end of the season, so nobody else can be any faster than you. But the reason I think they're going ahead and pushing the button instead of letting somebody work through the year is they're sending the message to kids, hey, this guy's not going to be here if that matters to you. Mm-hmm. And we're going to have a guy in place at their first week of recruiting, and we're going to try to get back in and get a good class.
Chuck, do you think using South Carolina as an example, since they're going through a search right now and a couple of weeks into it, I mean, with search firms involved in doing the back channel work and the behind the scene contacts with the agents and all that, if a school finds a guy that they like and they are sold on and he lets it be known that they like him, even though he's coaching a team and has several weeks to go, do you think a deal can be cut behind the scenes and everything kind of put in place so that when his season is over, booyah, you're ready to move forward and announce it?
Yeah, because, the way it is now, I mean, the agents, they're doing all the negotiating and, and they can certainly, work a deal, obviously with the approval of the coach, but, have all of that done, without the coach really being involved in the process. And, and certainly that's probably going on in a lot of places right now.
Have you got a personal favorite yet for the South Carolina job?
Well, no, I certainly think a lot of Coach Elliott, and I want to see what they do the rest of the year. I mean, he's brought a lot of energy, and I just looking at it as an outsider. I mean, I would think that they would have to, to get to 6 wins, and if he can do that, then he's done a phenomenal job. And I think certainly he would have to be considered for the job. But beyond that, I mean, there's a lot of good coaches out there. But I certainly think that he would be given consideration, if they can win 3 out of these last 5, which is going to be a monumental task, obviously.
Guys, thank you so much. Good talking to you, Ellis Johnson and Chuck Reedy, our coordinators here on Sports Talk. We always appreciate their contributions to the program. We'll be right back. All right, once again, thanks to our coordinators, Ellis Johnson and Chuck Reedy, for being with us here on Sports Talk. I hope, for his sake, that Ellis is not with us next year. That means he'll be coaching somewhere. Chuck will be with us. He's done. He's done with the whistle and the cleats. So he'll be with us again next year, I'm confident, unless, of course, he demands more compensation than we're giving him this year and holds out in a contract dispute, as coaches have been known to do. We don't play that game here on Sports Talk. You take it or leave it. That's the way we kind of look at it.
Wow.
We find somebody. There'll be plenty of coaches begging to be on with us next year. To recruiting now. Wide receiver Dre Massey, Holmes Junior College, Mississippi, going to take his first official this weekend. Cincinnati has set officials with USC November 14th, Oklahoma November 21st, and Florida November 28th, undecided on a 5th visit. Been favoring the Gamecocks since getting an offer from last week, confirmed last night. He's still favoring the Gamecocks. Florida offered him Tuesday night. He said he talked with USC recruiters Sean Elliott, Steve Spurrier Jr. Last night. They contacted him after their practice while they were watching film, and they said they were excited to get him and his mom down for an official visit and trying to get him to come back home and play for the Gamecocks. He had a terrific year this year at Holmes. Clemson's next home game, November 7th, Florida State, going to attract a bunch of big-time recruits. One who plans to be there, defensive back Miles Dorn of Charlotte. His first trip to the Valley for a game, though he did visit the campus last year. He's in regular contact with Danny Pearman and Mike Reed. They talk every week, getting to know each other a little bit more. And when he gets there, he wants to see how the coaches coach and see how the players are at game time. And so the coaches have been talking about him getting to campus, and so it will be this particular game. He'll be there. He has taken officials to West Virginia and NC State, slated for an official to North Carolina November 14th. Not sure about his other two officials. Doesn't have a favorite and is looking at a December decision because he's graduating early. In baseball, 96 sophomore infielder Chad Ferry made a commitment to Clemson Wednesday, according to DiamondProspects.com. He's the third commitment for the class, 2018 class for Clemson, all from the state. All right, there you go with recruiting. Let's hit a quick phone call. Squeeze one in here before the top of the hour break. Howard in Somerville, welcome into Sports Talk. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you, Phil. Out here at Somerville Branch Trail, kids playing soccer. It was a beautiful night, clear after last night of the rain. The reason I'm calling was about Kim Berger. But before that, I'm talking about the Clemson. Don't say that. My general observation of Clemson being ranked so high, and I'm a Gamecock fan, whatever. But is that kind of tempered, and it's good. It's good in that way. But
I tell you what, Howard, hold on. If you don't mind, if you can just relax for a couple of minutes. We do have to hit the top of the hour break, and we'll let you finish up on the other side. More sports talk coming up.
Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
And we're back, Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network, underway in Pittsburgh. North Carolina and Pittsburgh scoreless early in the first quarter. We go back to Howard in Somerville. Let him finish up his thoughts tonight here on Sports Talk. Okay, Howard, back at you.
Well, it's about across the bridge. It's a Somerville. The branch trail runs only through Somerville. It's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Think about Somerville. You think it's very populated, but you go right to the middle of Somerville. It's a branch trail. It's like you're in the middle of nature, like in the mountains where I'm going. But they took out one of my favorite bridges about to cross over with my dog. Mm-hmm. However, over here by the YMCA fields, whatever. My point, though, I will call about Kimber, but one thing about Clemson thing, if I may, I listened to your Chuck Brady. I love listening to him, and the other defensive coordinator. But one thing about I might say about the Clemson's ranked number 3. And I've really been listening to this whole thing in the past month. Clemson's ranked 3rd in the country, and it's like to me, it's kind of tempered. Yeah, and I recall I worked at Wild Boons banquet cab for about 10 years. Now you go down there and play the harbor course. And I never forget one time there's a banquet function. This one guy sitting there, went to USC and has Cox cap on, and he was like, "Yeah, how can you wear that?" He said, "The Gamecocks." He said, "You got to be extra tough." To me, if you're South Carolina Gamecocks ranked number 3, there's just this extra. It's more rabid, and that's the way he said it. Now, nothing against Clemson. Now, that's a whole other argument. But I do think there's another thing out there, and that's if Clemson played, let's say, hypothetically, Alabama. And I listened to Bobby Harton down here, and this guy went to the Alabama-Georgia game. He said Alabama, they were manhandling those guys. But to me, it's really Clemson's been it's low key to me that Clemson's number 3. But if the Gamecocks number 3, it'd be a totally different scenario. That's what I'm calling. Call out Tim Berger. I was born and raised here in Charleston, and one of the great sports writers. I grew up reading Tim Berger. I was a sports writer here in Charleston. And I, as you may know, in K-Mac and the pro, I've moved out to LA. I'm a surfer. And I started reading Jim Murray, another sports writer, and I'm a voracious reader. I moved back here, but Kim Berger I think he mixed sports with life. And when I lived here in Somerville, working Mount Pleasant, I got to work about 10. I listen to ESPN radio. Now I get Canal. I listen to 94.3. Well, it's the Rush Limbaugh station.
All right, Howard. Hey, listen, man. Appreciate you listening and all that stuff and reading all that stuff. Keep in touch with us. We got to hit a break. You know, years ago they might have laughed at the Charleston Southern fight song when it comes to football. They ain't laughing no more. Buccaneers have been very, very good under Jamie Chadwell, and they are very good again this year. Ranked in the top 25 in both polls. They get a chance to play number 1 at home on Saturday nights as they take on Coastal Carolina. Coach Jamie Chadwell joining us here on Sports Talk. We had Coach Moglia last night talking about things from his side, but he was very complimentary, Coach, of your team from what he had seen on film. A lot of respect coming from Conway towards your program.
Well, Joe's done a great job there, and he's been obviously great for our league, great for Coastal Carolina, and has really showcased the Big South. And we obviously respect what he's done down there, and we're looking forward to having a good game with him on Saturday night.
6-1, you are 3-0 in the Big South. The only loss coming to Troy. So against FCS competition, you're undefeated. And you've had, some shuffling at quarterback because of injuries and all that. How has this team gotten to 6-1 and gotten itself nationally ranked?
Well, I think more than anything, we've got a hungry group. We've got a majority of guys that have been with us now for 3 years. And the last couple of years, we've had some really good seasons, but we've sort of hit a stumbling block, maybe lost a game that we shouldn't have, that, you could expect to win. And I think what this team has more so than the previous two is that we have a great mindset of each week, how important each week is. I think when you have a lot of success early, you sort of take that for granted. And this group is not. Our senior class and the guys that are fourth-year juniors are really taking on themselves to say, hey, each week is important. Let's make sure that we make the most out of it. And it's probably been the most mature group that I've had in our 3 years here.
Well, forgetting about Troy, boy, your defense has just been great all year. Holding the Citadel to 20 points in the win, we see how good the Citadel is now. That was good. And then Monmouth, you gave up 7, Presbyterian only 7. You shut out Gardner-Webb. Has your defense been better than you thought it would be going in, or is this about what you expected?
Well, I wouldn't expect it to be the number 1, ranked defense in the country. If I knew that, I'd be a rich man. I'd bet on that. But I tell you, we thought that we had a chance to be the most talented defense that we've had because we've really got a lot of good young defensive linemen. We play 9 defensive linemen that play in games that we rotate in and out, and the oldest is a junior. The rest of them are all sophomores or freshmen. And we thought talent-wise they're there, but we just thought it'd take a while for those guys to gain some experience and some things happen. But to our defensive coach's credit, they've got those guys playing at a high level, and it's just sort of snowballed. You mentioned the Citadel. They held them to 13 points. They scored 7 on a interception return, really dominated them. And since the second half of that ball game, we've been on a tear. And just watching, obviously it's your team, but just watching it, you go back, oh, man, that defense is just swarming the football. And it's fun to watch. They really shut down, some opponents. Obviously, we got the biggest challenge probably since the Troy game as far as skill with Hop Henderson and Alex Roth, the quarterback, and the receivers that Coastal have. So I bet our defense is up for that challenge. So that's what is going to be fun to watch Saturday night.
Yeah, as you guys have looked at film of their offense, especially your defensive coaches breaking down Alex Ross, he's having just another sensational year. Pinpoint passing, high touchdown to interception ratio, I guess low. How would you word that? A lot of touchdowns, very few interceptions. The ratio is very positive. What are your defensive coaches saying about him and what makes him such a good quarterback?
Well, I think what the word that keeps coming up, or the 2 words that keep coming up, they say he's very poised, and then he always gets them in the right play. They give him a lot of freedom through their system to check them into the right play. And one thing that we've noticed, he's rarely in a play where they're not going to have a chance to be successful. And that comes, obviously, he's a 4th-year starter, been around, played a lot of football, and been in their system now 3 years. But that's what where he beats you. He gets you in play. You look like you're bringing blitz. He checks them to a screen, and they when you're playing soft coverage, he hits you with something else. And I think his experience, and along with the playmakers, he just knows how to get in their hands, and he doesn't get flustered. You never seen, even these last couple of games when, they played a little tighter than maybe people, outside people think they should. They're in tight games, and he's just the captain out there. And I think that's what, looking back from afar, from my perspective, our defensive coaches, is what's most impressive about him is he just relaxes, and it's like he's playing in the backyard.
How do you like the matchup of your defensive front, size-wise, physicality, against their offensive front?
I like our matchup. They've got a good offensive line. They've got some experience there. They've got some new guys that because last year they had a lot of fourth-year guys that played a lot of football, so they got some new guys. But with us, and this is what game 8, going into game 8. Those our guys aren't young anymore. They've got a lot of experience. I think our talent matches up to the level of their talent on offensive line.
Mm-hmm.
The challenge will be, can we get pressure with just 4? If we can rush the pass or cause some problem with our 4-man rush, then we like our chances on that. If they're protecting him and we have to start bringing 5 or 6, then that's when you play some man-to-man, and they've got the receivers, the skill guys that can win some of those matchups. So I think that's going to be the game between the game. Can we get to him and pressure him with 4? If we can, then we like our chances of having some success there.
Your quarterback situation, is Austin Brown healthy, ready to go Saturday?
Austin, got banged up early in the year. Has been pretty healthy since the Citadel game and has played every game since then. We've played Kyle Copeland some. Kyle got banged up in the Presbyterian game, came in there and played well for us, got banged up, missed the Gardner-Webb game, but he's back 100% now. So we feel good about going forward. We got both quarterbacks healthy and ready to contribute, Saturday.
And it's really hard to read the impact of this game on your team. In 2013, kind of a similar scenario. Coastal comes in undefeated, highly ranked. You beat them, and everything was looking great for you. Then you lost your last 2 games. Last year, you go to their place, they beat you. You turn around and won your next 3 games. So, I mean, how do you deal with the aftermath of Coastal Carolina?
Well, obviously we've done it well after they beat us, not so well when we beat them. I think when we beat them the one time, it was obviously a great win, and I think it went to everybody's head, and probably including Coach Chadwell's, and we didn't prepare for the aftermath. Once you beat the giant, all the pressure sort of comes to the new giant, and we couldn't handle that. And last year they just totally wore us out, but I think it allowed us to refocus and say, hey, we need to move forward. This year, hopefully those past experiences, beating them in a similar situation a couple of years ago, obviously getting beat by them last year, hopefully all those past experiences of the guys that come back, including the coaches, we understand those now, how we need to respond, whether we win this game or whether we lose it, how we can respond going forward. Because it's a big game. Like we told our team, it's big. They're number 1. We're getting to host it Halloween night, TV. That's huge for Charleston Southern. But the most important thing, it's just the winner controls the conference race. And that's sort of been our focus, is the winner controls the conference race. Let's don't make it bigger than what it is. Everybody else will. Let's focus on it, narrow our focus. And so that's what we're shooting for. Hey, this win puts us in the driver's seat. That's our main focus.
Mm-hmm. You guys bringing in some extra stands for this one?
We are. They brought in some extra ones there. I'm sure they'll have some extra porta potties and all that stuff they need to have ready. So we'll be prepared for a good crowd. We're expecting a nice crowd because the Clemsons and the Carolinas and most everybody else are playing early.
Yep.
I think in the state we're the latest game there, and I don't. There's not a ton of national football national games that are just relevant this week. It's sort of a down week, as far as matchups, big matchups. So I'm hoping that people want to come out and see good football here in the state. Obviously we feel like we're taking our program to another level. Coastal's, been at the level for a long time, and then them leaving. This is the last year of them in our conference, so this might be the last time we play them. And there's a lot of things going on. I think we're expecting a big crowd. It's supposed to be beautiful weather, so dress up in a costume and let's show up.
All right, Coach. Thank you so much, sir. Good talking to you. Best of luck. Back in a moment. Okay, we're back. Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. Coming up, Mike Morgan will join us. Going to hear from USC defensive coordinator John Hoke and Clemson offensive lineman Eric McClain. Get that to you as well coming up here in just a little bit here on Sports Talk. And it's time for our high school football report, a service of Farm Bureau Insurance. With new auto insurance rates from Farm Bureau, you could save a whole lot of money even if you received a quote before. Rates are now more competitive than ever. Get a free quote today from your local Farm Bureau insurance agent. All right, let's update some of the statistics of players from around the state of South Carolina as we head into kind of getting down to it here as far as the regular season is concerned. The leading rusher, according to statistics compiled by the High School Sports Report, Blair Moore from Patrick Henry, 2,020 yards and 31 touchdowns. Trey Caesar, Lamar, hail Caesar, 1,456 yards, 19 touchdowns. Alex James of Florence Christian, 1,385 yards, 21 touchdowns. Gavin Allen of Clarendon Hall, 1,356 yards, 15 touchdowns. And Cartillis McFadden of Latta, 1,305 yards, very tough yards, and 11 touchdowns. The leading passers in the state at this point in the season would include Cole Martin, Nation Ford, 3,418 yards and 36 touchdowns. Ryan Holmes, Lawrence Academy, 2,982 yards, 32 touchdowns. Oliver Machode, Portugal, 2,596 yards, 21 touchdowns. Carson Spires of Greenville, heading to Clemson to play baseball, 2,457 yards, 21 touchdowns. Austin Scott of Spartanburg, 2,416 yards, 28 touchdowns. And Lindsey Robinson of South Florence, 2,165 yards and 22 touchdowns. And in receiving, the leading receiver, Josh Erwick, Lawrence Academy, 1,638 yards on 94 catches, 23 touchdowns. That's a year. Or Trey Smith, the phenom from Wando, 67 catches, 1,108 yards, 13 touchdowns. My favorite name in the state, Hank Tupuluto. I am just not good.
Tuapoluto?
I am just not good with foreign names.
Don't let it intimidate you.
You're right. I freak out. Hank Tupuluto.
Okay.
Tupuluto from Nation Ford, 74 catches, 1,094 yards, 9 touchdowns. Bailey Rogers, I can handle that from Wren, 54 catches, 1,051 yards, and 9 touchdowns. And Hunter Cook, Faith Christian, 30 catches, 1,001 yards, 26 touchdowns. All right, there you go. Some of your leaders statistically in the state, courtesy High School Sports Report. Back in a moment. All right, North Carolina and Pittsburgh, they are 3-3 second quarter. Hey, whether you're a Carolina Gamecock or you bleed Clemson Orange, all South Carolina college football fans can agree on Founders Federal Credit Union. With a convenient location on USC's campus and a Clemson office coming soon, Founders is a sure fan favorite. Visit relaxjoinfounders.com to see if you qualify for membership. All right, USC had its final practice this afternoon, early this evening, getting ready for Texas A&M. Who will be the quarterback? Nobody seems to know right now. They'll let us know tomorrow out of College Station. And John Hoke and company on the defense having to prepare for an offense, not knowing the quarterback. He was asked if that's a big issue.
I don't know, there's two different offenses as much as that. Murray is a tremendous athlete. He's going to pull it. He's going to run around. They create plays. He can create plays in space by himself. Really good athlete. Allen's more your typical drop back quarterback. Can move, does move around in the pocket, but they're different from that standpoint where Murray's going to be a little bit more on the move.
What does their wait to name a starting quarterback mean for you guys?
You kind of go in with the general game plan because they're not going to change their offense a ton, but you have to have awareness. If Murray's a starter, you might have to alter your calls a little bit, do some things a little bit different, but not things that wouldn't drastically out of your game plan.
Just talk about the overall speed this offense presents and the challenge it's going to be for you guys.
Well, it's always a challenge. They're on their tempo, so we got to make sure we get the calls in, make sure we get lined up and get ready to play. And they're going to make you play in space, and that's what we got to make sure we're ready to do.
What have you seen from Christian Kirk, from him being a freshman to do what he's doing?
Very talented. Very talented. They find ways to get him the ball. He's very explosive with the ball in his hand, quick, has good speed. He's just a talented athlete.
Health-wise, everyone good on your side of the ball?
We are.
Rico bounced back from that concussion pretty quickly. Is he in line to start?
Yeah, he'll play.
Okay.
He'll play. We'll play a lot of guys because of the type of offense they have. We got to have people running the ball all day.
All right, USC defensive coordinator or co-defensive coordinator John Hoke talking about the defense getting ready for Texas A&M. Texas A&M has struggled last couple of games out. They've lost 2 in a row after winning their first 5, and they have some questions at quarterback. Will it be Kyle Allen? He has been the starter, 1,625 yards, 14 touchdowns, but completing just 57% at this point. If they go to the freshman Murray, he was one of the top high school quarterbacks in the country last year. He is very fast, one of the fastest quarterbacks in terms of taking off and running that you'll find anywhere.
Vic, he looks like Vic when Vic was at Virginia Tech.
So I'm not sure who they want to see. Probably somebody who'll stand in the pocket and give him a chance to keep him in there.
That won't be Murray.
But it remains to be seen who the Gamecocks will face. And then defensively, of course, Myles Garrett leads the SEC with 8.5 quarterback sacks. So South Carolina's tackles are going to have to really play well. And they're not too bad on the other side of the defensive line either. They can bring pressure from both ends. Let's welcome in our traveling college football play-by-play man extraordinaire, with a great call on the Kick 6, Georgia Tech and Florida State. Mike Morgan joining us from out in the West. Got a game coming up tonight. Good evening, Mike. How are you?
I'm doing well, Corn. How are you?
We're doing great. Thanks for joining us tonight. Give us the setup of your game tonight.
Yeah, a little, as you mentioned, a little West Coast flavor over here at Sun Devil Stadium in Tempe, Arizona. First time I've been out here. It's a beautiful campus. Obviously a stadium that people know from when it used to be played there, the Fiesta Bowl, and long-time home of the Sun Devils. What they have done, I took a tour yesterday of the kind of the guts of that stadium. What they've done to renovate the inner workings of the stadium is unbelievable. I mean, I thought that Oklahoma State was impressive. They've really put a lot of money in there since the coaching change a few years ago, and it's a terrific environment here, and it's a great matchup against Oregon, two teams that really thought they'd be competing for a Pac-12 championship this year. The loser is certainly going to be out of a lot of things, but if the winner can still stay in the thick of it at least and have a chance at a good season. So a good matchup between two teams that have become very familiar with one another over the last few years.
Well, we've been looking at coaches, and I guess it looks like it may be a trend of, getting canned or quitting or just leaving or resigning in the middle of the season. And I say it to say this, Mark Helfrich, everybody knew that Oregon may have a down period, and he's the guy there. Any rumblings about any heat on him up in the Pacific Northwest?
Oh no, I don't think so. I mean, gosh, you played in the national championship game a year ago. You can't possibly put heat on him now. I mean, obviously Chip Kelly raised the bar very high, but I think Mark Helfrich, who by the way actually has some ties to Arizona State, I think you got to give him some time. It's his third year, and he doesn't have Marcus Mariota anymore. I mean, that's the biggest difference when you look at last year's team and this year's team. They don't have a Heisman Trophy candidate at quarterback. Vernon Adams was a great quarterback at the 1AA level, but he's just not the same weapon. So while they have athletes all over the place per usual, they don't have that kind of signal caller that's a true difference maker, and that's been the difference.
Mike, let's turn our attention to the USC job I mentioned on the show tonight. I didn't say this in a reporting form. I mentioned it in more of what I've been told, and my feeling now is, and what I was told and my feeling now is, Tom Herman from Houston looks like the guy at the top of the list now for Ray Tanner as he goes through the process. Not saying that this is absolute or the end all. I'm just saying that right now that appears to be where most of the conversation is heading. And I'm wondering what you're hearing as you've traveled around the country the last couple of weeks, being based in Atlanta as well, where a lot of coaching talk takes place. What kind of feeling are you getting on the Gamecock search?
Well, I think Herman's certainly been a guy that's very high on that radar for a while now in Columbia and for South Carolina. Recently the headline, of course, has been Miami. And any time that you're a program like South Carolina and you're looking for a new head coach, you have to consider, well, who else is looking for a new head coach? Are you going to go head to head and battle for anybody? What's unique is I don't think that these schools are. I don't think Miami's in the same financial situation. I don't think it's as glamorous a job as it used to be. And then you have Southern Cal out there on the left coast. I don't think they're going to be going for the same guys South Carolina is. I mean, you've got some major programs that have openings, but I don't really think they're going to be fighting for one another. So if Herman is the guy, I get the feeling that South Carolina will get him. If Fuente is the guy, same thing. But I don't think too many programs are going to be going for the same names, which is kind of unusual because a lot of times you have that hot name where 3 or 4 schools are all going after him, and sometimes it's the highest bidder. But I just don't see it playing out like that.
Herman makes $1.35 million per year. That's the highest Houston's ever paid a football coach. He is due as much as $350,000 in performance incentives if he continues to win. His buyout is $2.25 million if he leaves before 2018. None of these numbers you think would make South Carolina blink twice, would it?
No. I think this is not South Carolina in 2009 where you could make the argument they went on the cheap for a basketball coach. I think Ray Tanner's going to go in there and say, whoever is the guy, we're not going to lose him because of money. And I think that's the case. I think South Carolina's in a very good financial situation, and Ray Tanner's a guy that when he wants somebody, it's hard to say no to him. He has a knack of that. And so if that's the number one guy in his mind, I'm pretty confident that they'll put the package together that's significant enough to lure him in.
And where can we catch you tonight on the Cube?
This is actually a radio broadcast, so it'll be on a number of affiliates across the country as well as the TuneIn app on any cell phone that you might have.
When do you do your next TV gig?
Next TV gig will be on Saturday at Southern Miss. So we go from Pac-12 to Conference USA, and we'll see where we are a week after that.
Very good. Hey, safe travels. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for the insight. Mike Morgan traveling the country with his radio voice and his play-by-play skills. We'll be right back.
Gilmore was about to enter the center of a maelstrom.
All right, North Carolina has struck with a long touchdown pass. They're up on Pittsburgh 10-3 midway through the second quarter. Insects and diseases can be moved hundreds of miles in firewood and threaten our forests, favorite campsites, neighborhoods, state, and national parks. Help protect the trees you love by purchasing firewood at or near where you burn it. For more information, visit don'tmovefirewood.org. All right, I thought we were going to hear from Eric McClain, Clemson offensive lineman. Apparently, we don't have that particular interview, but we do have comments from the Tigers defensive coordinator, Brent Venables, once again trying to gear his team up for, at least on paper, a pretty explosive offense. This offense is scoring a lot of points at NC State. Jacoby Brissett is a very dangerous quarterback, but you know what? We said this last year about NC State before the Clemson game, and the Tigers flat out stonewalled them last year. It was downright embarrassing for NC State. Can they do it again? Here is Brent Venables earlier this week previewing his defensive matchup against North Carolina State and what they are trying to do to get ready for the Wolfpack.
I don't know. I think week to week it's how you match up, and thankfully we haven't had to rely on young guys like freshmen. Christian is surrounded by he gets in there one of the more snaps than a lot of the freshmen anyway, and I know you're looking at starters, things of that nature, but just some guys have come on. Cordray Tankersley has really come on. Kevin Dodd has really been what we hoped he would, and maybe that was wishful thinking. We just didn't know. Those two guys in particular, the inside guys, we thought they'd be solid, and they've been every bit that. And then Christian has been an added bonus. And then the linebacker play has been super consistent. We had a bunch of returners in the secondary. They've played to our expectation, and we can continue to play even better. But I think Cordray has really helped us, his development. Kevin Dodd being able to play, and both those ends have played a ton of snaps, and so their ability to play a lot of snaps, and then the linebacker consistency. Just again, execute the game plan, fit the gaps, make the plays you're supposed to make. Don't have to be Superman, and I think everybody's kind of complemented each other well. And we've really, these last few games, have started to develop an identity and chemistry. And I think our guys are really, I think that they recognize that they can be pretty solid, and I think they're hungry for it now. But they've talked a big game early in the year, but you got to go out and do it week in and week out. And now we've got a stretch here where we're going to need them more now than ever to be really good. And so hopefully we can meet those expectations. But for the first time these last few weeks, you've really felt a great deal of confidence in the way they've their attitude and their preparation, and then the consistency that we're executing at, where again guys aren't trying to do too much, or they're not trying to be themselves. We're kind of developing into a good cohesive defensive unit.
You lose all the guys to get this defense up to the level that it is right now. I know it's only 7 games in, but you're 7-0, and some pretty impressive performances there. You're getting a lot of love for that nationally now. Your name's been talked about an awful lot. Do you allow yourself to give yourself an attaboy at this point?
No, I mean, because I recognize how all that happens. First, it's the players' willingness to buy in and work, and their ability, their skill. And then it's our coaches, coaching them and teaching them and inspiring them and challenging them and getting them ready and repping them in fundamentals. And I get, way too much credit for that. It's all of us. And it's a system that should work. And when these players leave, our expectation, won't change. And But you first and foremost got to have the right tools, and we certainly do. But you have to have the right kind of culture, and you have to have good coaches that are out there putting them in position to be successful, and then the guys understanding, investing during the week and understanding their jobs and then doing them and playing with effort. But we got great leadership with our players and great leadership with all of our assistant coaches. And so it definitely isn't, me. It's our system, it's our players, it's our coaches.
All right, Brent Venables, kind of sharing the acclaim there for the performance of the defense, which has risen to number 3 in the country, number 4 in the country. I think NC State's like number 3 and Clemson's number 4. But again, I think Clemson's performance has come against a little better opposition top to bottom. We'll be right back. All right, let's give you a couple of the emails that have come into us here. Email site, of course, is talkback@sportstalksc.com. Let's see. Norman writes, I totally agree with what Corey Miller said on Wednesday night's show about Clemson. I listen to a lot of national shows on Sirius. Most of those guys think Clemson has the easiest road to the playoff. Hopefully, NC State, Florida State, or the Gamecocks will knock them off. This is from him, of course. As far as the Miami situation, I still think the Carolina job is better because we have great facilities in our own stadium, he writes. We generally fill it up. SEC, a much better conference. Think about Miami. Stadium is about 45 minutes to an hour's drive from campus, not a true college atmosphere. Heck, their alumni base in that area is small. Most of the fans didn't even attend school there. Some can't speak English. It doesn't matter in South Florida. The most hilarious thing, though, is that they are represented by a hip-hop artist that thinks he knows what it takes to run a major college football program. The ex-players aren't any better, and I know for a fact that Darius Rucker doesn't go by Ray Tanner's office every day and tell him how to run our program. Finally, I also agree with Corey that if Sean Elliott gets the job, he will need to get rid of some coaches. Corey and Kevin Hendricks have been critical of our D-line play, so we know who needs to go there. I would bring Grady Brown back and give him the recruiting coordinator's job. Get some new blood in that recruiting office and hire Marcus Lattimore to be in charge of high school relations. Clemson's model is similar to Alabama's. They need to spend some money in this area to help to get the best kids we can. Heck, when I was watching the Clemson-Miami game, I noticed that Clemson must have had 25 coaches on the sidelines. Remember when I pointed that out a couple of weeks ago, all the people Clemson has on the field working with their players prior to the game when they're going through their warm-ups and in their calisthenics lines and all that. They've got staff members everywhere. Anyway, I know that you can't have that many, but good grief, they have a lot of guys standing around in those orange polos.
How many cooks are too many?
I don't know. These are all guys that work in the offices and do various things. This is from Joshua. Do you guys honestly think Venables would even consider the South Carolina job? The guy is as loyal as it gets, only coaching at 3 schools this entire year. To think he'd leave a job that he loves for an in-state rival is pretty ridiculous. Well, he didn't go to Clemson. He's a Kansas State grad. He wants to be a head coach. It's the SEC. It would pay $3.5 to $4 million a year. I mean, sometimes, he loves Clemson. He's loyal to Clemson, but, he's not going to be the head coach at Clemson anytime soon. If USC were to come calling, for your career's sake, you'd have to look at it.
I think if you check out a coach's loyalty is to his family first.
True. Most of the time. Well, sometimes coaches do pass on what appear to be better opportunities because for whatever reason, it's just not a good feeling or a good fit for him. Might be good for the family, might not be good for him. All right, that'll do it. Thank you, State Man. Thank you, Pro. I will talk to you tomorrow night from Houston, and have a great night. We'll see you then.